Good afternoon, everybody. Huge thanks for coming along to find out a little bit more about Andy's Man Club. We'll just allow a couple of moments for the attendance to build and for some people to jump on. Aware that obviously people are probably coming out of a previous meeting and various different things like that. So we'll give you guys plenty of time to come along and hopefully find out a little bit more about Andy's Man Club. As the warning says across the bottom, just be aware that there are references to some quite upsetting things throughout the course of the what we're going to share with you. So as I said, just allow a little bit of time for these things to build. I'm really looking forward to speaking to you guys today. I think it's going to be a really good session. So I'll give it another sort of 15 or 20 seconds and we'll crack on. Please feel free as well. There's obviously all of our social media handles flashing up across the bottom of the screen. Please feel free to at some point throughout what we're going to say today, drop us a like, a share, a comment, or any of those different types of things on any of our social media platforms. That would be amazing. All right, I think we'll make something of a start. So, thank you again for wanting to come along to hear a little bit about Andy's Man Club today. Just going to share with you a little bit of the background of Andy's Man Club. Some of you may have a little bit of an understanding of how Andy's Man Club works. Maybe you've seen bits of us on social media. Maybe have a little bit of a knowledge about those sort of things. But I'm also certain there's likely to be people here who don't know who we are, don't know what we do, and don't know why we do it. Now, the why, as far as Andy's Man Club is concerned, has always and will always be central to absolutely everything that we do. So to help highlight why we exist, I'd like to start by showing you a quick video, if I could do, guys, please. Are you just able to share my slides, if that's possible, please?
Annabelle! Alright, where do you want me? Come here! Ow!
So about 8:30 on Tuesday, 5th of April, I got a knock on the door by a policeman who just more or less said that they'd found my son dead. It was like somebody just stuck their hand in and literally ripped the heart out of me. It just come out, it just says our Andrew's dead. I have a lot of conversations with Andrew. And I don't know if they're in my head or dreams, but I meet him on the woods where he's there thinking about it. And I said, well, you give me 5 reasons why you should. So I'll give you 1,000 why you shouldn't. And for every reason they give me to do it, I could tell him why not to and where he got it wrong. And at the end of it, I just say, I'm going home now, but you've got to make this decision. Just think about what I've said. And in my dream, he always comes home. And I would just say, just talk to somebody. He started playing football when he was 5 and he played for the same team. Right up to 13, 14.
Well, me and Andy couldn't drink, so when we used to go out, we always used to be with him a bit proper lightweights. And we'd have like, if we get out shots or out, you know, if you got Acker and you get 75p drinks or anywhere like that, we'd always end up, same time, going outside, throwing up in the alleyway and then going back in and carrying on. We used to do it all the time. We still laugh about it now, do you know what I mean? But like, funny, good lad, quality, just a proper lad really. It's like any other lad, do you know what I mean? Like, just a proper lad.
We're at the woods where Andy committed suicide. It's quite a different place with the trees, and it's quite special in that sense. How the trees are all different to your average trees, and this is where the trees are all different to your average trees, and this is where where Andy chose to go, and it's a difficult place to be. Knowing that it's the last place that he was alive, yeah, that's really difficult. This is the hard thing, and something I've racked my brain around doing a lot within mental health in the past, and there were definitely no signs. We were planning to do things. He had stuff planned, he had stuff that we were ready to go and do, and then on the Monday night, when he killed himself, potentially one chat or one discussion with anyone, just to see what was going on, just to let him know that we're all going to be okay.
That's our why. As you could see there, Andy was a 23-year-old lad like so many others of his age. Then one day, without any sign, signal, or warning, Andy took his own life. Now, unfortunately, Andy's not on his own. In this country alone, there's over 4,500 men take their own lives every single year. And when you start to boil that down, that works itself out at 12 men every day. That's one man every 2 hours. And the next one's the big one for me when you read that suicide is the biggest killer of men under 50. Now that shows the size of the problem that we're dealing with. But what to me really intensifies that problem is the fact that that's not talked about. You know, how often do you open up a newspaper or turn on the TV news to find something being talked about around risk factors for men? And how often is it that they talk about that? Not very often. Now that's, in my opinion, because there's still a stigma attached to people talking about the word suicide, but also the things that lead up to it. And that's one of the things that ANDYSMANCLUB hope to change. Luke, that you saw at the end of the video there, is Andy's brother-in-law. Being Andy's brother-in-law, Luke took a lot of the responsibility for the things that needed to happen after Andy had died upon himself. So, for example, Luke went and collected Andy's car from where he'd left it. He was breaking the news of Andy's death to members of the family, basically watching them crumble in front of him. Now, he was of the opinion that if Andy had have somewhere to go where he could talk that was free from judgment, because we know there's judgment around men talking about their emotions, free from the stigmas that we know exist around men, again, talking about their problems and their issues, then it's likely that he would still be here. So that's what he set about to try and achieve. Decided he was going to start a coffee club for men. Now that sounds like a massively simple solution to what we know to be a huge complex issue around mental health and suicide. As we know, simple solutions are very often the most effective. Also, as we know, because we're British, we try and solve every problem by putting the kettle on. Now this happened in Halifax in West Yorkshire. Halifax as a town is very, very stereotypical in as much as the sort of fellas that come from here are very, very staunch, northern, chin up, chest out, internalise every problem and feeling they'll ever have, or push it as far away from them as they possibly can do. From one post that Luke put out on Facebook to say that ANDYSMANCLUB was happening, 9 men turned up. Now, for 9 men to turn up to something like ANDYSMANCLUB in a place like Halifax showed that there was a clear need for it to do what it was doing. A few weeks after the start of the sessions, Luke had seen things like the Ice Bucket Challenge and the Press Up Challenge go through social media and thought that even though social media can on occasion have a bad reputation for the effects it can have on people, when used for something like this, it can be quite a positive and powerful tool. So Luke decided he was going to start his own campaign to hopefully get this sort of subject matter talked about. The idea behind the campaign was to use the very picture that you can see on your screen there now, telling men that it's okay to talk. You don't have to worry about being perceived as a weakness, a burden, an embarrassment. Very much the sort of idea that they'd rather listen to men talk about their problems and their issues for a couple of hours than to have to sit and listen to your eulogy for 20 minutes. Now, the idea behind the campaign was that it would emulate the ones that we've already talked about, in that people would take their own selfie, attach a screenshot of the statistics, and share and tag 5 friends, and they'd share and tag 5 friends. What's interesting about that, though, is, well, there's 2 interesting things about that, really. The first one being that as Luke took that picture there, he was sat next to his Mrs. Lisa. And he turned around to Lisa and he said, "What do you think? This is a good idea?" She says, "Yeah, I think it's a great idea. And I just don't think you should be on the selfie because you're a little bit of an ugly sod." Now, I disagree with Lisa. I'm not saying that because I think Luke's dashingly handsome. I'm saying it because I know how many Instagram filters he put on that picture. If any of you ever meet Luke, he'll talk you through what all 15 of those Instagram filters did, how they made his skin look so baby youthful, and how to hold the camera so you don't get your double chin in shot and everything. Now, the other interesting thing about it is, you've probably already read that it's now been recognised as the biggest mental health campaign on the planet. Over 100 million people took part in that, and it's still ongoing to this day. What's interesting about that, however, is that 24 hours after Luke sharing that picture, because of those stigmas we've already talked about, not one person had shared their own selfie. Now, when you think to yourself that this was based on social media, that makes this even more baffling. And just think to the last time you scrolled through a social media platform and some of the really controversial and out there things that people are comfortable to talk about on there, but that were too uncomfortable to talk about male suicide. Now, that to me tells you absolutely everything that you need to know about why this campaign was needed. Andy's Man Club's a very solutions-based organisation. Luke thought to himself, I'm not going to let this stand in my way. The first thing I'll do is I'll text my dad. My dad's a positive male role model to me. He's of a different generation. It'll make me feel as though these things are being talked about. He also thought that at the time, Luke was also a professional rugby league player at this time. He got in touch with a couple of his teammates. That meant that the fans started to get involved, and it started to snowball from there. And it snowballed so much so, in fact, that by the end of the first week, we'd had a massive result and Ricky Gervais had got involved. Now, if any of you guys follow Ricky Gervais on his social media, you'll notice that he normally only ever tweets about pulling funny faces in the bath or his cats. So the fact that he shared an It's Okay to Talk selfie for us was absolutely enormous. It's brilliant as well to then see him go on and normalise that conversation around suicide with the series Afterlife. Quick disclaimer on this one. I'm not claiming that Andy's Man Club's had anything to do with Afterlife. I'd love to be able to, but I just can't. But to see that subject brought into the living rooms of people on a daily basis in such a challenging way, I'm sure the people that have seen it will agree that 1 minute it's laugh out loud funny, the next minute your mouth open with shock because he's dropped a C-bomb onto a child, to the next minute crying with the emotion of it all. As I said, to bring that sort of subject matter into the living rooms of people on a daily basis can only be a good thing. We've then had some support from the world of sport. We've got the likes there of Anthony Joshua, the boxer Josh Warrington, and the rugby league player Callum Watkins. What jumps out to me when I see these guys especially is the arena in which they operate. These guys could quite easily be pigeonholed as the epitome of masculinity. Right, really strong masculine guys doing manly things. Let's be honest, boxers punch each other in the face all day long for a laugh. Here they are, not worried about how they're being perceived and telling men that they believe that it's okay to talk. Now that goes a huge, huge way to helping us challenge those stigmas and hopefully make sure that more men come through the doors of the clubs that we run. Other areas of support have also offered us support. We've got the likes there of Leeds United wearing Andy's Man Club t-shirts, from advertising boards around the side of football pitches, front cover of match day programmes, all the way to local level clubs wearing our logos on the front of their shirts. Now this goes a huge, huge way to helping us challenge those stigmas within one specific demographic of people. Those men who maybe feel as though sport is their only outlet. Within that, there's quite often the temptation to get involved with a couple of the unhealthy coping strategies that go alongside that, though, by getting down the pub before and after the game and for allowing things to spiral at that point. What we're not saying with this, though, is that you have to be one of those guys that comes along to an Andy's Man Club. We have every single walk of life walk through the doors of an Andy's Man Club, every single race, religion, colour, creed, sexual orientation, social economic background, talking about every single type of problem you could ever imagine a fella having. Ultimately, these are the guys that we hope benefit from Andy's Man Club. Now, we'd like these guys to benefit in a number of ways. The first one being that Andy's Man Club's quite unique in what we've set about to try and achieve. We don't want to have to exist. We want people to feel comfortable talking to their friends, family, colleagues, brother, sister, doctor, man in the pub, man in the bus stop, whoever it might be, about what's going on inside their life, that they don't necessarily feel the need to come along to an Andy's Man Club. Our hope is that by the time these guys are of an age that we're a little bit closer to that goal. We also hope that these guys have adults in their lives that find out about Andy's Man Club, benefit from coming along, hopefully improving their home life, but ultimately meaning that these guys aren't touched by the pain left behind by suicide. Unfortunately, the young man that you can see in the middle there hasn't been that fortunate. That's Alfie, Luke's little boy, Andy's nephew. Luke says that one of the major reasons behind Andy's Man Club existing is because when they had to break the news to Alfie that his uncle Andy, who was his favourite person in the entire world, had died, the screech that he let out, not only did he put the windows through, but it also broke Luke's heart. The pain left behind by suicide is like nothing else. If we can reach out to more and more guys that were feeling the way that Andy felt, hopefully we'll have less lads in the situation that Alfie's in, less brother-in-laws in the situation that Luke's in, and less mums in the situation that Elaine's in. Now, speaking of Luke and Elaine, we're just going to hear from him again now, talking on a video, talking about the journey that Andy's Man Club have been on over the last few years.
Starting a group or a club called Andy's Man Club, and the reason I came up with it because I've been passionate about mental health for a long time. 3 months ago, my brother-in-law died by suicide, and I want to do something where I could personally contribute and make a group and go and help other men come up with a plan where guys could come together and talk. And if it ends up being like tonight's the first night, so I'm quite nervous about tonight and who turns up, but the outreach that I've received has been unbelievable, and it's so rewarding now looking at what we've done and why we've set it up. Along with Andy's mum, we've got a purpose behind it, which is mental health and Andy, and that his name can live on and create a legacy and helping. And if we can move this to Bradford and Leeds and so on, and other people get involved and they want to set up an Andy's Man Club in Nottingham or up in Scotland, that'd be ideal.
Okay guys, are we ready after 3? 1, 2, 3. It's okay to talk.
Andy's Man Club.
Andy's Man Club. Andy's Man Club.
Andy's Man Club.
We're here at Albert Prom. Significant for two reasons for me. One, we're just above where Andy died by suicide. And two, we're just above the Tower House, where I approached you 5 years ago and said, can we start Andy Roberts Coffee Club, which no one will have heard of because you accepted the idea but declined the name. And then we both went away, didn't we? And you'd thought of Andy's an acronym, and I'd thought of this thing, Man Club, and together we created the beast that is now well known as Andy's Man Club. How did you feel heading there that first night?
Excited, actually. I remember going to Morrison's to buy tea, coffee and sugar, and like you said to me, there'll only be us turn up, there won't be anyone there, and I says I can put up with you for an hour. And I were actually amazed that 9 guys walked through the door.
And all opened up.
And accepted me being there.
Yeah.
So what's your biggest few highlights been over the last 5 years?
The overall journey, I won't change anything from putting that first post out to doing that Sky Sports interview to having no idea how many guys would come, to 9 guys turning up, to then 15 guys turning up. It just completely exploded to the next minute being down doing stuff with Samaritans, Professor Green, Prince Charles, Prince Harry, letters off Theresa May, the Queen's Award, Uni Lad Bible, shortlist, like the list goes on.
Just took over, didn't it?
Yeah, there was nothing else.
No, there wasn't. I breathed, slept, ate, drank, Andy's Man Club. Everyone that goes to their own group says it's a brotherhood that they've got. It's like having a second family.
I know a lot of men that have struggled generally, especially in the UK. I think not enough men talk about the problems.
The first step towards helping myself was joining Andy's Man Club.
The only time I first spoke about my problems was when I first went to Andy's Man Club.
I first sought help through Andy's Man Club.
It's saved my life, really.
One of the things that I still find that's been the most powerful thing is that very first night we all got together for Lad Bible showing. We hired Shay, did it all up with balloons and everything, and we had no idea at that stage whether it was going to be just me and you again, or our families were going to go. And there were 300 to 400 people turned up, and that is the first time I realised how much work we were doing to help the families.
Yeah.
There were so many families there that had lost people. 2 different mums came up to me. Oh, it's got me again. 2 different mums came up to me and said, it's the first time I've ever been able to talk about it, because suicide is something you just never talk about, and if somebody asks how did your son die, but it is very difficult to say they died of suicide. And they were both in tears, and they just said it's the first time ever we've been able to talk. And it weren't until then that I realised what a massive impact we were having on the families.
So, 5-year-old today, happy birthday, Andy's Man Club. So that first night, we've walked in, 9 men have turned up, one of which, Oliver Vicks. What a journey that man's had.
And it just...
I had nowhere to go, nobody to talk to. I found myself in the pub most nights, just for some company, to go somewhere and be around other people. I soon realised that that wasn't a very productive way of dealing with my problems. It was about that time that I found Andy's Man Club. I actually attended the very first ever session of Andy's Man Club. From there, just that first night, opening up, talking to people about my problems, it really helps put things in perspective, knowing that it wasn't just me that was going through these things, but also it's okay to talk and it's okay to get things off your chest. After that first session, I felt like I'd had 12 cans of Red Bull. I honestly felt like I could have flown home that night. And I knew then that that was a feeling that I wanted to share with as many men as possible, provide this platform to as many men as possible. So we're here now today, opening our 50th club in Pontefract. And we set out with a goal 5 years ago of having 10 clubs in 5 years. So to have 50 clubs in 5 years, it's absolutely unreal.
The fact that you were the first guy, or one of the first guys to walk through the door, one of the first guys to speak, to then go on to be a facilitator of the biggest group at the time of Andy's Man Club in Halifax.
Well, he was really first facilitator, wasn't he?
Yeah, and then became one of our project development champions, and now heading up, starting new groups. He's just put the pin on the board for the 50th group over there in Pontefract, and to celebrate, he jumped out of a plane. So when people talk about that one man, it's not just a guy walked through a door and he talks about his problems. He's a guy who's walked through a door, talked about his problems, got himself back into his job, started seeing his son again, got his life right back on track, and now works for us, and he's jumping out of a plane celebrating up in there.
That's how Andy's Man Club grows, because once people are in better positions, they don't walk away, they want to give something back and help the next man that's going to walk through that door.
Yeah. But the biggest part for me that's made this journey so nice is the people. That's what's so special about Andy's Man Club. The people, the fact we're a registered charity now, and we have 8 amazing trustees, 7 fantastic staff, over 250 plus heroes, facilitators who open those doors every single Monday night to give guys that safe place to go and talk, to the thousands, the army of volunteers out there on the streets, raising awareness, backing us, supporting us, loving us, liking, sharing, commenting, every single thing we do. Because without the people at AMC is nothing, and they are the biggest asset that we've got, and we are indebted to each and every person that has ever supported us and continues to do so. If I could send any message out, it would be that other men or other people could set up a club, call it whatever you want, just get men talking and making it feel that it's okay. Get rid of this stigmatism that it's a problem, and let's squash it together, and hopefully, there could be some lives saved from this.
So as I say, that's just a snapshot of the journey that Andy's Man Club have been on over the last almost 6 years or so now. Just before we move on, I'd like to touch really briefly on Ollie's story there, because that's a story that's not only replicated through all of our clubs, but every single one of the guys that volunteers at an Andy's Man Club has been just like Ollie. Not only are our clubs volunteer-led, but they're run by volunteers who've been that guy that's taken the step through the doors as a group user. Now, on a couple of points to me, that's absolutely enormous. On the first point, it shows those men that what they are going through can and will get better. But also for anybody attending those clubs for the first time, it shows them that those guys have an understanding about how dark a place my mind can become. He also has an understanding to the dark place that my mind has become, and also the courage it takes to walk through the doors of something like Andy's Man Club. And in my experience, that's been the difference between so many guys making it through the doors and not. So what is Andy's Man Club? We currently have 103 community clubs across England, Scotland and Wales. All of those clubs are open to any man aged 18 or over. While we were born out of the tragic circumstances that surrounded Andy, what's unique about us is that guys don't have to have had suicidal thoughts to attend. They don't have to have had a mental health condition to attend. In our experience, there's 3 types of guys in the world. There's guys that are currently going through a storm, guys that have got a storm brewing on the horizon, or guys that are just coming out of the other side of that storm. All 3 of those guys, not only would they benefit from talking about what they're going through, they will also benefit from sitting and listening to what other guys are going through and how they're dealing with things and putting some of that hopefully into some of their own lives. The sessions happen every Monday night, 7 p.m, except for bank holidays. The other thing that's unique about us is that there's no referral, no registration, no signing in, no cost, and the key one for me, there's no obligation to speak. So guys can literally walk through the doors, grab a brew, and sit and say as much or as little as they feel comfortable to do so. Now that's massive. The Monday just gone, we had just over 1,800 men use the clubs across the country. Now, when you rewind 5 years to see that we had 9 guys coming through the doors, that's a huge, huge jump. Now, what's another huge jump, though, is up to those 4,500 guys that are still taking that step every single year. That's why my hope is that there is one person sat watching this that will benefit from knowing that Andy's Man Club exists. Even if you're not that person, in my experience, there's somebody in everybody's life that will benefit from knowing that Andy's Man Club exists. So please, please share what it is that we've talked about today. We also have an online platform. While that was born out of the pandemic and while we had no opportunity to meet face-to-face, even though all of our face-to-face sessions are now back open, that online session remains as well. That now means that guys don't have to geographically be based close to an Andy's Man Club to attend. It now means that there might be guys who have such an anxiety that they're in a situation whereby they're thinking to themselves, well, I can't make it to the doors of that club. They can now do that from the comfort and safety of their own home. Confidentiality is a massive, massive part of the work that we do here at Andy's Man Club, in that everything that's said in those sessions stays in those sessions, and the same goes for the identity of people within those groups. As a result of that, we will never, ever publish those links anywhere. All guys need to do to get information on how to join the online, or even information on how to go about attending any of our face-to-face sessions, all guys need to do is drop us an email to info@andysmanclub.co.uk, and we'll share the details with them about how to do so. I'm just going to share with you now another really quick video of some of the other guys that have walked through the doors of Andy's Man Club and how it's benefited them.
Worries and anxieties are a big part of my life. Started about 10 years ago. I didn't want to live anymore. I thought the world would be better off without me. I thought that maybe if I was to take my own life, I could be with my child. But I was very suicidal at the time.
As a child, it was getting bullied and not being able to say how I felt to people. To talk about the problems I went through as a child and everything that happened, I didn't want to.
My worries and anxieties started around the passing of my father in 2013. It affected me in my day-to-day life, it affected my job, it affected relationships. I didn't talk to my friends or family about my problems that were going on.
So the easiest thing for me was to not be here. It was a Sunday night, I think it was, and I knew I didn't want to be here, and I was planning that night to do something.
Thoughts going through my mind were how I'd be judged by people, you know, real bad thoughts about, you know, getting out of this life.
My worries and anxieties probably started a long time ago, but the most recent was last year. My cousin committed suicide. It was very hard to discuss my problems at that moment in time, as I couldn't even string a sentence together.
I felt very alone. I had a lot of people around me. I know a lot of people cared, but just something instinctively in me just wouldn't open up.
I never spoke about it with anyone. The problems have kept me in all my life.
There's a stigma attached to around how a man should appear and what he should say. There's an ideal view of a man, and I think people need to break the cycle of that and just not conform to that.
I know a lot of men that have struggled generally, especially in the UK. I think not enough men talk about the problems.
The first step towards helping myself was joining Andy's Man Club.
The only time I first spoke about my problems was when I first went to Andy's Man Club.
I first sought help through Andy's Man Club.
It's saved my life, really.
My name's Luke Campbell and I'm the founder of Andy's Man Club. I believe male mental health in our country has for a long time now been stigmatised. There's been out 3 stigmas: weakness, burden, embarrassment, and I feel that's a lot of the reason why people don't want to speak. They feel weak to speak, they feel like they'll burden others, and with the lad culture we have with banter, they feel like they're embarrassed to give any vulnerability away. To any man out there watching this, it's not weak to talk, it's not weak to ask for help.
steps that I've taken to resolve my issues. I've started talking a lot more to people. The importance of talking about how you feel is phenomenal. Talking's really opened me up to people, my family, my friends. It's turned my life around. I'm happier than I have been in my entire life.
No matter what, I talk about everything now. I won't keep anything in at all.
If I were going to give any advice, it's talk to, whether it be your loved ones, professionals, your friends, and if you don't have any friends, reach out. You know, if you are willing to reach out, people are willing to help.
Getting guys in a room and opening up and giving people hope, giving people a lifeline. That's what ANDYSMANCLUB's all about. My advice to any man out there is that you will get through this. At times you may think that there is no other way out, that relationship breakdown, that debt you're in, or whatever issues you're struggling with, that you can't get through that, but trust me, you can. I've dealt with enough people to know now that that cloud will pass. That roller coaster on where it just seems like you're going down, down, down will take a turn and you'll get back up. You just got to look up and know that the brighter times are coming, and I guarantee, reach out, it's okay to talk.
So just off the back of that video, there's 4 guys in that video that talk about making pretty serious plans to end their own days. All 4 of those guys, from walking through the doors of an ANDYSMANCLUB, talking, opening up, have all improved their situation to such a degree that they've all been group facilitators for us somewhere around the country. Now that's a massive, massive thing. Again, for those guys to be able to walk through a doors, not able to see a tomorrow for themselves, to then be able to open those doors for hundreds and hundreds of guys to get that same tomorrow is absolutely enormous. Shows the power of talking. Talked previously as well about Luke being a former rugby league player. This is what Luke looks like without any Instagram filters, by the way. Now that's a place where toxic masculinity is still quite prevalent. That whole man-up culture and don't show any sort of weakness. While that might have a time and a place for the time that he's competing on the pitch, it doesn't throughout the rest of life. And for him to be saying things like it's okay to talk goes a huge, huge way to helping challenge those stigmas. We are aware that the videos we use as part of our presentation use what we now know to be dated language on suicide. That committed word is not something that should be associated with it anymore. We do apologise for it being there. We hope that no offence has been caused. This is knowledge we've given ourselves since the videos were made, as I'm sure you'll agree, the message that the video puts across is such a powerful one. Now, we're really fortunate here at ANDYSMANCLUB that we have been given a little recognition for the work that we do, in that we've won both the National Diversity Award and the Queen's Award for Voluntary Service. Now, that Queen's Award for Voluntary Service for us is absolutely enormous because it goes on to recognise the true heroes of ANDYSMANCLUB, who are our volunteers. Not only do those guys swing those doors open in those clubs every single Monday night, they go out, they attend events for us, they bang the drum, they tell people all about ANDYSMANCLUB, all the while dealing with everything that life is throwing at them. As I said, that to me makes them nothing short of heroes, so we're eternally grateful to those guys. The only award that we will ever need here at ANDYSMANCLUB, though, is the knowledge that we now have somewhere for men to be able to go and talk about their problems and their issues, and the fact that that has saved so many lives. So thanks so much for your attention today, guys. Just before we leave, I'd like to ask something of you, and that would be to talk. Whether or not that's because there's a situation in your life where you'll know you'll benefit from doing so, whether or not it's because you know there's a situation in your life where somebody else will benefit from doing so, if you can be the person that gives them that platform, that can never be underestimated. Just please, please, please talk about what it is that we've talked about here today. Tell people that ANDYSMANCLUB exists, whether or not that's through a face-to-face conversation, whether or not that's through a text message or something like that, whether or not it's through sharing, liking, commenting one of our social media posts. If that lands on the right person's timeline, the impact of that can be absolutely enormous. So thank you so, so much for your attention, guys. As I said, I'll start my camera back now and turn off my sharing as well. A huge, huge thank you to the Royal Voluntary Service for having us along today. It's been great to be part of, and thank you so, so much for the opportunities. And don't forget, guys, it's okay to talk.